We are here today to talk about a new book for us. It's one that we are just now diving into, and I'd like to welcome everyone here on Zoom. We have Jean Lorio.
Everyone.
We have Mary Lou. We have Charlie and Erica, and Kathy Hand. Hello, everyone. And anyone who's finding us, we're working on the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. I love this book.
We got your highlighter.
I love the whole concept of this book. I am very disappointed, however, in my Kindle version. I'm having to decipher what it says because words run together. And it's that way consistently throughout. And so it's taking me twice as long to read through it because of that.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm hoping that not all the Kindles are that way, but mine certainly is. And yeah, I thought maybe it was just the first page that got messed up, or maybe I had it turned sideways and it was that for that reason, but nope, every page is that way.
Oh, goodness. That's aggravating.
It is aggravating. So I'm definitely going to let them know about that. But anyway, the book itself is based on a concept that Mel Robbins just kind of happened upon. I love her story. And I love when she shares that story about how it just happened. You know, it wasn't something that she sat and planned and said, let's do this. She just all of a sudden just started counting backwards and then made a decision and acted upon it. And that's the whole basis of the 5-second rule. So I just want to open up and welcome Christina, who's coming in, our darling Tina. And I just want to open it up and see how you all are doing with the book.
I love it.
Hi, Christina.
Hello.
Where are you?
Just a second. I'm coming.
All right. Your beautiful face.
All right.
There, she's
yes.
outside.
I
Oh, how
am.
pretty.
I
Oh
know
my
it's so
gosh.
nice. Supposed to rain for the
love
next
it.
supposed to rain for like the next 5 days here. So I'm taking full advantage while I can.
Absolutely, because I love that scenery behind you and you look just so vibrant.
You
I'd
do.
take you out on my deck, but it's full of the old carpet. It looks
Yeah.
not to
That's
mention all
about
the
what
dirt.
we're still doing the bathroom reconstruction. So
Yeah.
that's my house is like that right now, it seems like.
Right. Yeah.
It looks
so
great.
glad that you
Well,
joined
Terry,
us.
you were asking us about the book before Christina
Yeah.
came on, and you know,
Yes.
I kind of was like, well, it can't be all that instinctual. So I read on a little bit, and it says it was only later she found out that when you count backwards, you mentally shift the gears in your mind, interrupting your default thinking and asserting control. It distracts the mind from excuses and it changes your physiology, making your mind fall back in line. It's like a starting ritual that activates the prefrontal cortex, helping to change your behavior. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain responsible for focus, change, and deliberate action. You know, and so that made more sense to me, you know, because at first I thought, oh, I might be in trouble with this book because if it's based on following your instincts, I've done that to my detriment a lot in my life. Anybody who knows me would know that. You know, I'm the kind of person I need to be thoughtful first before I speak.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm very instinctual. And so that part of it brought the balance into the concept, you know, that it is in fact happening that you're taking a breath and giving it a moment before responding, but it's just a breath. And in fact, that's enough. As long as you're doing it mindfully, and that 5 seconds is all we need.
Yeah.
It is all we need.
It seems to work. It's like it changes your behavior, you know.
It does.
And you get motivated. It's like, wow. I can do this. I want to do this, and boom.
It's like a
Yeah.
You do
reset to your
this.
clock.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like rewiring your brain, getting rid of all the,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
the habits of, I can't do this and everything else. And you just don't give your brain the time to think, Yeah. It's really, really cool. I like it. Yeah.
I
I
was
love it. And I was just going to say, isn't it interesting that the heart brain coherence, they suggest that you breathe in for 5 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. It's that reset that we need. And
Right.
Jean, I interrupted you.
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
You had a thought.
well, I was hoping Linda'd be here because her and I share a concern together. We're kind of procrastinators. And this book is like a cure for that because
Yeah, it is.
what we do is we overthink everything, and then we become overwhelmed by everything we have to do or whatever, and we just talk ourselves out of it. So this is, I've been using it. I've used it a full few times and successfully just making myself, just saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it and doing it. And that's helped, that's helped. But I can understand Mary Lou's concern because we've been taught, and I've had to work on that too, is that think before you say something. Don't just say it on impulse. Think about what you're saying and the consequences of what you're saying. So, so there is that little bit of a conflict, but no, I find that for me, I really am a procrastinator, and this has really been a big help for me.
The wisdom has to come between, is it a time for you to pause? Let's because I know it's practice to pause for many things. Like, let's just say, like Bob and I are having an argument at home, and I want to get my point across and whatever, but I need to listen to him. So I need to not practice the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in this instance. In this instance, I need to practice the pause. So, it depends on what you want to use this method for. You can't use it for everything, but like you said, procrastination, for me,
it's more for action.
yes.
Yeah, the
Yes.
example in your case is it's an interaction where you're communicating with somebody.
Mhm.
This is more for making that decision and
Yeah.
sticking to it. The sticking to itness.
Yes, like if you
Jean was
want to
saying,
go and talk to your husband about the financial problems or something like that, that's an action,
right.
and
So
but you might put it off because you're like worried what he's going to see what I spent in Amazon today.
Mhm,
Know the
right.
feeling.
So you didn't do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 before you bought. That's what you're telling us.
Should have practiced the pause.
And that pause is an action too. The pause is an
Yeah.
action.
Yes.
That's your
true.
action. So if you're doing the action that you want, whether it's pausing or running, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You're making that decision to pause. And then you can make the second decision later on. Yeah, that's true.
I agree with everybody that I've heard so far talk about it, which is very simple. I need simple in my life. That's how I work the best. That's how my brain works the best. I definitely thought of things like the show Brain Games, stuff like that. That this was like another tool. And I know some of you know that my husband has a severe brain injury that he suffered about a dozen years ago. And I've learned so much about these brain games and the, how you can like unselect and select the limit switches. I say it's like you can switch things off by playing some of these games. But then I was also struck too, I don't know if anyone else noticed this, we were talking about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hypnotists do the same thing. Anesthesiologists even usually do the same thing. They have you count backwards to get you to kind of go under. It's like it's kind of I just can't help but wonder what kind of brain, just the adding the numbers into it. I wonder if that's adding something to
I did pick up on that too. And one thing that they said was that Mel said is that the reason that you're counting backwards and not 1 to 5, but 5 to 1 is because it is an act. It's a call to action. You're done now. Make the decision. Whereas if you count to 5, well, you might say, well, I think I'll count 5 more and go up to 10 and then make a decision. So it prevents us from having
having that loophole.
It's a real call to action in our mind, and that, and I tried it last night. I was, sometimes I have trouble getting to sleep at night, and I might start I don't like to bring my iPad into my bed with me, or even have it on the table, because I think it's going to run out of power by the morning if I fall asleep with it on. So I've never done it, but I did see, Terry, this week that you had, you and Dr. Ruth had a intentional meditation to help you sleep at night, so I might just give it a try, and see if that helps me. But instead I counted backwards and I said, well, I know I'm not going to get to sleep, in 5 seconds, but I started with 30 and I went back. And I had to do it several times, but it did put me to sleep counting backwards instead of, one, like counting sheep. They always told us to do that.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, and maybe there's something to it that you count backwards, that your mind says.
Yeah.
You have an end point. Yeah, you have an end point.
Yeah.
I was just thinking to myself that counting sheep, oh my gosh, no wonder it never worked for me, because it never once worked. I thought it was silly. And now I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Well, we were doing it the wrong way.
Maybe.
2008. 2008.
There's
you don't have to underline. She does it for you.
Yeah, some of them.
You don't have to highlight or does it for you. Yeah. Pretty cool.
That is cool.
For me, it's extra cool because there's always a part of me that feels wicked sad at myself for highlighting or underlining in a book because I don't want to ruin the book. I've got that side to me. I really love books. So that I noticed that too, Jean, and I was thinking, oh, she already made that decision for me. I can highlight and underline all I want to in this book because she already started it.
I did too. And I marked, and I have like year marks all the way up to chapter 7 already.
Me too. Yeah, you should have a daughter who's a librarian. She just hates me around books. She won't loan me any of her books because she says destroy them. And I do, I'm always putting them down open. She says that breaks the back. And so I'm a destroyer of books, and I love them. But
my daughter, who does this too?
My daughter, who's a librarian, the one.
Okay, so my daughter and your daughter are like kindred spirits. I can tell you that right now. My daughter is the same way. No, you cannot, because I ear fold them down and I leave them open, dog ear. That's what I'm thinking, and I leave them open all the time. And she's like, no, you are terrible to books. I'm not letting you have any of mine. And I'm like, geez, but same thing.
To me, that says you love a book. That means you really love that book.
Mhm.
The other ones I have don't have a mark in them, and I'm gonna take them down to Goodwill because they didn't
I'm
do
like
anything
that. I
for
agree
me.
with you, Kathy.
The ones that are marked, I keep forever.
Yeah. I used to earmark and now I highlight.
I do both.
I think it means I liked it.
I do both.
Yeah.
Because you're right, she had already underlined things that
Yeah.
I want to come back to, so I earmarked it so I
Exactly,
can come
you
back.
don't have to do it. Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to have to find the book itself because, like I said, I'm having such a hard time with the
Oh,
Kindle
so
version.
sorry.
That's terrible
Yeah, it is.
because it's really well written.
It is.
Charlie,
been
how are we hearing you? You're muted.
I was talking and I've been on mute.
How did we hear you?
I don't know.
He just turned the mute off.
Oh,
I turned it back
It was
on.
marked mute before and we were hearing them.
Yeah.
and you tickled your own fancy, didn't you? You're
The
laughing over there,
dog-
tickling
the-
your own fancy.
The dog started to bark, so I muted it and I forgot to put it back on.
Oh,
So yeah. But I was talking and I said, Gene, as long as you don't break your back. before."
Yes,
Oh.
I agree. I listened to her videos. They were so good,
Mhm.
especially her.
No,
They are so good.
I did.
Oh, they are. They're so good.
I don't. Do you guys know a lot about that TED Talks thing?
Oh,
on
it's
Yeah,
really good.
I've listened to a lot of TED Talk. Yeah.
Are they
Yeah.
good?
They're
Very
really
good.
good. They're concise and they're short. So I think they can't go over like what is it, 18 minutes or something? 13
Something
to
like
18
that.
minutes.
Yeah.
So each one, you get a lot of power in there in that amount of time because the people that are presenting know that they have to say what they're going to say in that amount of time. So they really get it down to what they really want to present.
Where do you find that on YouTube?
YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube. You can find any TED
Yeah.
Talk on YouTube.
Just look under the information thing.
And she
But she-
also does almost daily videos that she uploads
Mhm.
I didn't
Yeah.
know
to
that either.
Facebook. And it's
Yes.
exciting right now for me because she's having such a good dialogue with her son. Her son is 15 or 16. She tells you, but of course I forget. I'm bad at that. But he's 15 or 16 years old. And the things that come out of this kid's mouth, because they'll be driving in the car and she'll turn on and say, listen, I had to have him turn on the video because he's got some stuff. And I'm telling you, this kid is pretty profound. But anyways, she's very real life. And I think that's what I appreciate about her book and her videos is I think it's sound advice. And she also says how she had suffered from anxiety. And that's another thing I'd like to say with her videos. She wakes up some mornings and has anxiety, and she's very open about that, even though she's written this book. But she'll be like videoing herself while she's still in bed, saying, okay, I woke up this morning and I'm feeling anxious. So what do I do? And then she uses her strategies and just implements them and shows how this is how she has to work, because anxiety doesn't just magically go away, and I don't think she tries to say that it will, but she does say it's manageable, and that this is like as somebody who had anxiety, she can speak from that perspective, and I think that gives her a really good perspective actually for this. But I've definitely used it a lot in this last week, like a lot. I was surprised at how much I used it. Is everybody else using it?
Oh yeah. Yes.
I'm using it.
Haven't hit the snooze button
My
as
alarm
much.
goes off.
Yeah, that's
I
a
never did
biggie.
that.
Oh, I'm a bad snoozer.
I'm not. No, that's one thing I never was. I always had a body alarm. I never had to use an alarm to wake up.
Well,
I
I've
always
never
say,
been a morning, yeah, I've never been a morning person. So
Oh.
with the morning show and now with me getting up at 4:30, I'm like, oh, can I get 5 more minutes in?
That's different.
I've been using it with my workouts.
Good.
So I get it done in the morning right away. So that way, if I decide to go do a hike or something later on that day, it's just like bonus. But I make myself work out before I even have breakfast in the morning. But I've been using that to
Good.
do it. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I,
Because
I
boy, I
just,
can talk myself out fast.
Me
I
too.
just it just seems to motivate me. I just like, it runs my engine, like, and I just, do a lot of things that I wouldn't have done,
Yeah, it is like the rocket launch that she talks about. The lift off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the lift off you need. You just need that to just lift yourself up, get
And
yourself going.
right. And if I don't do that one thing I know I wanted to do right away, I'll be doing 3 or 4 other things and then go right to that other thing that I knew I was going to be doing, It just motivates you. It's like, wow. Yeah.
Here's another reading. I'll be the reading girl today, I guess.
All right. Hey.
It says the rule may also seem very similar to Nike's tagline, just do it.
Do it.
However, while just do it refers to what you need to do, the 5-second rule tells you how to do it, which is why it is considered a tool as opposed to a concept. The reason Nike's tagline is the most famous in the world is because it uses the word just. It acknowledges that while we are all struggling with pushing ourselves to do better and to be better, we all hesitate and struggle with feelings that direct us to do the opposite. It tells us we're not alone in this struggle, but that we should be bigger than it. It is pushing us to move past doubt and get in the game. It also resonates profoundly with us all because all of us, even the most successful and accomplished athletes, need a push. And the rule tells us exactly how to give ourselves that push by counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and moving. Yeah. And I always loved the Nike thing when my daughter was I'm bragging a little bit, but she was the valedictorian of her high school class, and it was during the time when Just Do It was very popular with the Nike theme, and so I liked it that they took it to another step, that it's not just it's not just about hesitating, that it's directing us to do something.
Yeah, thank you, Mary Lou. I love that. And I have been either saying just do it after the one and actually doing the action, or I'll say, let's do this, talking to myself, let's do this.
It works.
And,
it works
and
well.
actually do it. It really does.
Yeah.
Or you can do it.
Yes, you can. Or yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
I've been using it to get up for the morning show.
Me and you both, Jean.
Except for
Me and you
yesterday.
Yeah, you didn't make it yesterday.
No, I didn't make it yesterday, but today I woke up a few minutes after it started, but I said 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I got up.
Yay.
So,
I'm so glad you were there because you were telling me before we started that it did help me today.
It did. It did a lot. It was actually, I hate to say painful, but there was so much going on. It was things going in and things coming out. It was almost painful, and things were hurting that hadn't hurt before. But when it was all done, I felt better. So I think that there was a healing that went on that I'm really grateful for. So thank you for that.
Lots of shift.
A lot of shift. Yes. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Hmm. Anyway. So,
But I love Charlie's comment that this is motivational, because it is.
it
Now
is.
we're learning a new tool. And when you learn a new tool, it's exciting, isn't it? And I like
Yes.
playing with new things. So this is like something we're all working on together to really get into the habit of it. Because once you do it for a few days, you want to do more of it. That's how I've experienced it anyway. It's like, oh, it works. Let me try it again. You know, kind of that little science experiment. It worked that time. Let's see if it'll work the next time. And
Yeah.
it does. It does. It works every time for me.
Yeah, it's like the one title says, if you have the courage to start, you have the courage to succeed.
Ooh, I
Right.
like that.
And that's the whole thing, is getting up the courage to do something.
It is.
Mhm.
You know, and don't give your brain a chance. You know, if you want to do it, you know, just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and do it. You know, I mean, you might have been procrastinating for years, but you know, just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and do the damn thing. You can do it.
Wait till I tell him this with the dishes later.
I do it all the
Just
time.
do it, Chris.
doesn't
Just
make
do
a
it,
goddamn difference. The one, oh, I got my nails done. I can't do the dishes.
They're pretty, right?
Yeah, until she gets the nails done again. Yeah, I know. I got her. I got her story.
Yeah.
You know, Jean, I was thinking about the procrastination piece of this too. And we all have that, I think we all, can do that. And my dad used to have a joke. I can't remember the whole joke, but the concept was, somebody telling this person, you have to think of your sins. You have to think of what you're doing that's not right and not healthy and good for you or others in your life. And he was speaking with the devil, and the devil kept whispering in his ear, just tell him manana, just say manana.
Tomorrow.
And the whole concept of the joke was, well, you might go to hell because you're constantly putting things off that you need to be doing. You need to be doing it today, not tomorrow. I think it was probably trying to teach me a lesson and not procrastinating at that point in my life or something, but it's true, that can become a real detriment in our lifestyle, in our day-to-day living, is putting things off. So this book is going to be beneficial no matter what. As a refresher, as a reminder, and hopefully take to a new level with the counting component with that new technique.
Yeah.
And Mary Lou, you know that tomorrow never comes.
That's right. I think that was the concept of the joke. I wish he was still here with me so he could remind me what it was. Because I remember he didn't tell it to me just once either. It took me a while to learn the lesson of that story.
Another thing. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
It's okay.
Mine was just silly. Go ahead.
Well,
we like
I
silly.
like your silly.
Oh, I like silly.
What I was going to say was that when I was in college, I learned that when I was given an assignment, like writing a paper or whatever, I had to start it the day that I was given the assignment. Because if I didn't, I would procrastinate and then be rushing at the last minute. But I lost that.
Oh, you lost it.
To school. And I overthink things and I become overwhelmed. And a lot of times I just don't start them because it seems so overwhelming. But anyway, I'm sorry. And you say what you had to say.
Oh, no, don't be sorry. And thanks for sharing that. I love it when you share. I just wanted to point out, since you were saying maybe you should get this book, this is another thing. If you do get the actual book itself, real physical copy, like this is her definition of courage, and it's actually made to be taken out of the book. It's got little scissor marks there, and it's actually made to be taken out as a whole page, so you can hang it up if you need to on your refrigerator or whatever. So I just wanted to point, I just wanted to point that out, that they're all over inside.
Wow.
There's like little, you can just take them out, and if one resonates and you want to hang it up on your fridge. But I like the one about courage, because again, she understands a little bit, and let you know that she understands that sometimes it's just hard to overcome an anxiety. And so courage, she defines as such, the ability to do something that is difficult or scary, stepping outside of your comfort zone, sharing your ideas, speaking up or showing up, standing firm in your belief and values, and some days just getting out of bed.
Yeah.
And I think that's really,
Yes.
kind of is a reminder that even, the most optimistic and Mel Robbins, I mean, she's the #1 motivational speaker in the world right now.
In the world.
The world. And she still can be very, she can, it's still sometimes a struggle for her to get up out of bed. And it's okay for her. And she gives that permission, I think, so that we know it's not, well, maybe I should be like this superwoman. She's very real. So I like that. Again, I like it.
Yeah, she is very real. And she reminds me of Brene Brown also, if you all are familiar with her. I was listening to her. I think she's on Netflix right now. There's a documentary, and it's the same type of energy as Mel Robbins, that that really down to earth, telling it like it is type of energy. And I love that. And I loved it that she can be so raw with us and let us know these things that, I'm not perfect. I have panic attacks and, whatever it is that's going on with her. She has the son that she's dealing with. So, I love when we can learn something from somebody that doesn't put on an air of perfection. It's because none of us are perfect. We're all fighting to just sometimes survive in life and figure it all out. And the more we can figure it out together in a human way, then that's the best. We're walking each other home, right, Charlie?
Yes.
So,
yes.
Since you brought up Brene Brown, she actually quotes her in this book.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yes. So
And
I'm
she
not.
does-
Yeah. So you picked up on that vibe for sure.
Yeah. Good.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And later in the book, she does address anxiety. It's like around in chapter 13. Now I haven't gotten there yet. I'm on chapter 7, but I am looking forward to that.
We're on 5. No, we're on. I'm in the beginning, I guess.
I like Christina's idea about taking the paper out and putting it on the refrigerator, but I wouldn't suggest that because like your daughter might be very upset, or Jean's daughter. But and I thought of it too when you first said it. I was like, ah, but making a copy of it on a copy machine and then
That's
doing
what-
that,
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's what you need
instead
to
of
do.
defacing a book.
And then you can give one.
I-
Then you can have one copy and give one copy to Katie.
Or
Yeah.
You know
or
what
you write it in your own handwriting and stick it up somewhere.
Yeah.
I like that, Kathy. That like reinforces it too. That's an awesome idea. Write it out
Awesome.
and then
I
put
was-
it on.
I'm a writer. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I was going to put the stickers like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1
Yes.
all over the house.
I like that too. I like that too.
Good idea, Charlie.
I wanted to do
Like
it
sticky
when
notes.
the sun comes.
Put a sticky note on your forehead, you know,
His
look in the
office,
mirror.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
in the kitchen up
Right,
above the
right,
cabinet.
right as you look out of bed, it's right in front of you.
Or above the computer right here.
On the ceiling, Charlie.
On the ceiling.
On the ceiling. All right, there you
That'd be good. Right above the bed.
Uh-oh.
And I'll never.
I think we're onto something.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah,
My husband will take it in a totally different manner.
Well,
Well,
yeah, I
give him the book, or better yet, read the book to him.
Seems
That's
to be
like-
what I have to do with him and my kids because none of them like to read books.
Read it too.
Oh.
Have a family reading night.
I am having so much fun reading to my grandson. He,
Oh, I wish I could do that.
he was having, some issues. And so my son asked me about reading with him. And I said, okay. So I've been doing it now for, a month and a half. And he has taken off on his reading.
That's
Yay.
Yeah, he's
Wow.
so excited about it now. So I'm just so happy. I'm just so happy. And
When they
that's
were kids, when my kids were kids,
Yeah.
they loved being read to, and they would read, their elementary books. But once they got into middle school, it's all on the computer. And that's they do everything through their phone and through programs on the computer.
Hard.
It's like you're missing out. You gotta touch it. You gotta feel it. You gotta.
Yes.
And I just don't understand it. I'm like, God, do you see me reading? And Bob, even Bob, I mean, he didn't really read a lot of books, but he was always into his motorcycle magazines or automotive magazines. He learned so much just by reading articles like that. And we try to tell our kids that they learn everything through YouTube. Oh, how to tie a tie. I'll never forget when my son was in high school and he had to wear a tie. He looked it up on YouTube. How to tie a tie. I almost fell over.
It's sad
Yeah,
but
I-
beautiful.
I
all
do
at the
too.
same time.
I do too. I use YouTube. I use
Guilty.
the heck out of YouTube like it's
Well, I
a
do
tool.
now. I do
Yeah.
now. It's just that they use for everything. They don't
I do
read
too.
books. They don't read magazines. They don't read, anything.
Yeah. It's because they don't know how to visualize. When we read, we learned how to become part of the story. It was more than just visualizing like in a movie. We were actually in the story.
Yeah.
I think we have
Yes.
a little bit of a common ground with that in meditation. When we do meditation, we are in that meditation. We are actually experiencing everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Well, the kids these days, and maybe it's because of the electronics, they can't do that in their head. So they have to actually see something.
I think
So-
they do it in a different way. I think they do
Maybe.
it in a different way. Because I guess I got a bunch of kids that all read.
Well,
all their
that's
friends
wonderful.
read too. Now, whether they use Kindle or a real book, but I would say that most of them like a book too. It's just the same as everybody else. There's book lovers out there. But I also want to point out that sometimes when they're staring at screens, they're doing things that we can't even imagine, like creating worlds and stuff like that. Literally. I mean, I know we think of it as a game, but they're
I know.
using their imagination to literally start from scratch, visualizing and making into a visual concept what's in their brain. So I don't know. I think it's just different now than it was. I don't know yet if it's better or worse because
Yeah, you're right to an extent because they become part of the game that they're playing. In fact, when I was staying with my grandson, I had to have a cushy ball because when he was on his games, if I wanted his attention, I had to throw it at his head. Because I could call him, he'd never hear me.
Scoops.
Really? It's true.
I can't picture dear sweet Jean throwing a ball at the kid's head.
Well, it's a cushy ball, one of those with the little
Like a Nerf ball.
Yeah, like a Nerf ball, and it just anyway.
I think, Jean, it's
Sounds
like
like something
everything.
Erica would be doing to me.
I have a Nerf gun. I have a Nerf gun that I shoot at the dogs when they start barking like that.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess
It's not by me now because this room is basically getting empty because we're getting our floor on Friday. So,
Good.
so I'm like reaching for my gun and he's over there barking his head off.
I used to use it when I taught because not throwing it at them to get their attention, but if I was asking questions, I just toss it to someone and they had to answer the question, or they would toss it to another person. They'd have to answer a question. And
Well, that's good.
Well,
Jean,
that's
do
a
you
great
think,
idea.
do you think it's kind of like everything in our world right now too, though, where, we can't throw away the baby with the bathwater? That expression, I don't know, comes to me many times
It's an old
because I think that, it's very important for them to know about books, and maybe that's our role as people in our generation, to use those books like Kathy is. She's being an example. And you're constantly showing them and doing, and Jean, you're doing that with your grandson, and just by that one action, they'll be impressed with that. They'll remember that at the right point in their life. And, that I don't think that they're ever going to not read books. I think there'll always be books around, and they may even be treasured even more because there's less of them at some point, but that we have, and our jobs is to accept that it's new and it's different. And like Christina said, to have confidence that it's changing their minds in ways that we can't imagine. And it's good for them. I was thinking about my grandson, and he was showing me, he's in kindergarten. And he said, and we were talking about triangles, and he said, oh, in math class, we learned how to do 3D. And I said, well, what is a 3D triangle? And then he went into all these concepts that I have no idea what he was talking about. And I was like, wow, so the new ways are, just as valuable in that sense, for them, not for us. We know what we value because we've always valued it all our life, but it's not to say that for our little ones that they're going to value it too, just in ways that we don't comprehend, I think. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see if there are any of the younger generation using this technique, this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That would be a good.
I think
good
it would help
research
them
to do. Oh, I definitely think it would.
The last book I had, the McConaughey one, it wasn't the last one, maybe the one before that. My son said my son wanted to read it. So I said, all right, take it, because he was going to buy it or whatever. But so he took that. So maybe after I'm done this one, here's a good one for you and all,
There you go.
Yeah.
And maybe I can get him started on,
Right. I really wanted my son to read the McConaughey one. I thought he'd resonate with that one because of the way Matthew was in his younger days.
Right. And he probably would, but he didn't
But I
want to read
can't
it.
get him to read. I can't get him to read.
Well, maybe if he sees how you're doing with the 5-second rule and how it's changing your life, maybe you can tell him, it might change his life. And
I would love to.
You're up against it, Kathy, because we're in a minority, reading the way that we do from a book, so you're up against it, but just plugging away, and maybe one day he'll surprise you.
I know
I
a
hope
lot
so.
of teachers who don't like to read. A lot of teachers, when I was, because I was always working with the kids and trying. I would try to go across curriculums to help encourage them to read and to read technical material as well. And
Yeah.
a lot of teachers would say, well, I don't like to read, you know, or
I never did either. I read one
you
book
know,
my whole
so it's reading
life.
is,
Can't
but a
say
lot
that.
of it has
I
to,
know.
I think, with I hate to be, you know, with the visualization that you can do in your head, because it's boring reading if you can't do that. I mean, that's what I think. You're just reading material and it seems boring. Doesn't mean you're not smart.
Right.
My sister had a doctorate in psychology, and she was a very smart woman. And all she ever read was technical books because she didn't like reading. She couldn't visualize. She could read material, but she couldn't visualize. So I think sometimes the way to capture someone is to get them interested in something that captures their interest. I know that's what I had to do with my teenage son because he wasn't reading. And I finally found some books that just I know you're going to think I'm crazy. It was the Edgar Rice Burroughs books, The Man from Mars. And it captured his interest
Yeah.
because it had princesses in it and dragons and all kinds of things. And he just ate them up, and he's an avid reader now. He just reads everything. Well,
I just thought the way a book is written, that like the way Matthew McConaughey had his little pictures and everything in there, I thought that was more like that would capture like Colin's interest right away. But you know, he had
well,
pictures
you're on
of
the
his
right
cars,
track,
trucks,
you're on
whatever.
the right track, trying to find something.
I think we've talked about this. Maybe just play it in the background if you have it on Audible or on something like that. Just play it in the
That's a
background
good
and hope that
idea.
something resonates with somebody that's in the room hearing it.
That's
I
a
did.
really
I
great
tried.
idea.
Tell him Matthew McConaughey wants to is thinking of running for governor of Texas.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes,
He may be our president one day.
You never know.
And he'll probably win governor of Texas.
I think he will.
Oh, he would. He
Good.
would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he probably
You'd have people from both sides voting for him.
And I think he would do a good job. I really
I
do.
think so too.
Yeah.
Well, he has to do a better job than our governor now.
Yeah.
He's a man of action.
He's a very smart man.
That
Matthew is.
wasn't a
And very down to earth and people oriented. And I think we're hungry for that these days.
We are.
Yes.
We are.
Yeah.
We want someone we can believe and trust.
Yes.
Absolutely.
These politicians that talk out of both sides of their mouth, you don't know what, you know, I don't know who to believe anymore.
I keep thinking of the Harry Potter series, and I don't know, when they first came out, a lot of the teachers said that there was a renewal of interest in reading for the young people because they were so, like you were saying, Jean, about The Man from Mars, that they were interested because it was dragons and mystery and and young people that were in it, and that kind of renewed their interest, and I think you've got something, Jean, when you say find something they're interested in, and that's
Like
tricky, Kathy.
the Mockingbird series, that was really a great for young people. The not just Harry Potter, what's the other one I was thinking? Oh, the vampire. I know it's vampires, but that also.
Yes.
But David, my kids would, in fact, Marlena never really liked the Harry Potter series. It was in her face, I guess, all the time at school. And again, when you're not into books, you're not going to be into any book. But just this past weekend, that's what when her and her boyfriend, who were also being quarantined, because My Wonderful Family just gave it to them, which was great. She took it back to college with her. But so when she was in quarantine, that's what they did. They watched the whole Harry Potter series. But see,
Wow.
they're watching it. They watch the movie, but they won't read
Yeah.
the book.
Manga is what the kids are all about. I'll
What
tell
is
you
it?
that manga, which is Japanese. Yeah, and they're even, I'm telling you, these kids are so but I'm talking from like the 9-year-olds up from there are in the Japanese manga.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a
Mine are a little
totally
older.
different thing. Yeah, it's like the hottest thing that goes off of the shelves. I mean, and you'll still have the ones that like the other stuff too, the sci-fi and the all that. I hang out at the library a lot.
Imagine that.
That is my daughter.
And so anyways, manga, it's really hot with all of the both preteens and teens. That seems to be, just look up the genre if it's at all interesting. It's just like, it's way different. It's its own thing for sure. So, but
Interesting.
I think Kathy just wants to know how to get that book in their hand, and that's a tricky thing. It's hard.
It is.
Yeah.
we had somebody out here that just recently passed away, and that's what she would do, is she would buy books for the kids and put them in their hands. End of story. At a young age, and just put it in their hands. But you never know what's going to resonate with somebody too. Just because something resonates with you, or you think it should resonate with other people, doesn't mean it's going to at all. Like my daughter wouldn't want to read the 5-second rule, I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm just going to say that she probably would not pick up this book and read it. She'd pick up other things, but not that.
She'd read that page that you're going to copy for her.
Right. That I'm going to leave her out.
Well, most people read for fun. So they want to read something that's entertaining to them. And the 5-second rule wouldn't appeal to someone who's looking for, entertainment.
That's
so
true.
someone who self-improvement, that's the kind of book it is.
Yeah. Well, speaking for myself, if I hear somebody like on a video and they get my attention, I want to know more. So if they have a book, I'm going to go find that book. So I think maybe that could be an inroad, to introduce them through video. And, especially if they're very captivating, like, this person is, Mel Robbins and Brene Brown, for sure.
Right.
Some of these really highly motivational people, and they're entertaining because they're so funny. Mel Robbins is really funny. I really enjoy listening to her.
And you know what's nice? Because I've been to a lot of speeches, a lot of workshops. When you're a teacher, that's all you do. Have to do it like 3 or 4 times a year. But anyway, the first thing they all do, it always kind of used to upset me, because things don't upset me anymore. It used to upset me. The first thing they do is they spend 15 minutes telling you how smart they are and their credentials and everything else. And by the end of their telling me that, I'm already turned off.
Yeah.
With you, Jean.
Yeah. And like her and speakers like her, they just get into the subject matter and they're just human. They're like us, and they're not saying, you should listen to me because I have all these degrees and this and that. Because we all know that means nothing. What means something is experience and practical advice. So, you're right. If you listen to her, you'll want to buy her book. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, we are out of time, people.
Amazing.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
It's when you really enjoy something,
Yeah.
Goes fast.
It does. It just flows. Anybody want to leave us with any last words? Mary Lou, do you have something you want to read to us out of the book to take us out of here?
I just have one sentence that I wrote in the
Okay.
book. Don't tell Katie.
We won't. We'll keep it a secret.
It says, I don't know which page it was or what chapter or anything, but I loved it so much. And it went on the front summary page. Lean into magic, joy, opportunity, and relationship.
Very nice.
Lean
Yes.
into magic,
Magic.
joy, opportunity, and relationship. And that's a quote from Mel.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Spoke to me. You know, we're talking little
Beautiful.
ads. It's kind of fits in with what we were saying that, you know, Jean said we all need to use that imagination. You know, we all hunger for magic on some level, you know, and of course, opportunity and relationship are part of everyday life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Charlie,
And
you
I
had
like-
something?
Yeah, the courage, the ability to do something that is difficult or scary, stepping outside your comfort zone,
Let me see if I can-
sharing your ideas, speaking up or showing up, standing firm in your belief and values, and some days getting out of bed.
Yeah.
And I have a line from the book too. Says, the treasure in your life is buried within you. It's not inside of someone else.
That's right. I love that.
You be you, exactly.
You
You be you. You do you.
do you.
Anybody else?
I lost my page. But what it basically said
It wasn't
was-
dog-eared.
No, well, I had a marker in it and then but anyway, basically what it says that you are the only one like you and there's never going to be another person like you. No one has your power.
Right.
So that makes you feel, you know, like you're unique and important and
Yeah.
you should do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm up to. There is only one you, and there will never be another one. That's your power. That's one of the cutouts.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, some of them I
Okay.
scream at. When I'm reading them, I scream them to Erica to make sure she understands.
Like, you have to
Instead of
scream.
screaming, Charlie, whisper it in her ear.
There you go.
Or else she might
There's
be,
the romance.
she may be buying some Nerf balls. You better be careful.
Yes. A Nerf ball gun. Oh my God.
I love it.
Hey, I think I'm
Okay.
getting one for my husband.
Good.
Well, he doesn't hear. So I'm talking to you.
There you go.
So is Mel Robbins coming on our book club?
Sure she is. Let's set
Okay.
that intention.
All right.
We can only try.
That's right.
All right, people. Well, I am going to hit the road now and head to the Redwoods.
Yay.
So excited
Oh, yes.
to be
Hug
doing
a
that
tree for me.
today.
Don't forget.
I'm going to hug a tree. And I figured out through YouTube how to set the timer, the self timer on my camera. So if I don't have anybody going there with me, then I can take some pictures of the redwoods and show you how big they are as I'm standing in front of one.
I was going to say, you'll have to find about maybe 75 more people to hug a redwood.
Yeah.
No way you can get your arms around one.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Gorgeous.
A circle
So,
of tree huggers. Woo!
yeah. Yeah. I'd love to see us all doing that one day.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Holding hands around one of those big redwoods.
That would be
That'd
awesome.
amazing. Yeah. Well, next year we're going to be here in Shasta. Or I'm not there right now, but we'll be in Shasta doing a retreat. And there's some pretty big trees up there too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So save your pennies and put it on your calendar, 42222. And that's when we're going to do it. All right. So we are out of here. And thank you to everyone who came on in the audience. So good to see some of our people there. Rick Moon, Robert Dosa, Isabel. Thank you for coming on with us today. And next week, come on the Zoom with us. We'd love to have you show up. Thank you to everybody who's been here with this beautiful discussion today. I just loved how everything flowed. And so much love to all of you.
I think we ought to close it out with the countdown.
The countdown and then say namaste, y'all.
Okay, yep.
Okay. All right.
5,
5,
4,
3, 2, 1.
Namaste,
y'all. Bye, everybody. See you next
I love
week.
you. Safe
Bye.
travels.
Love you.
Bye.